sizzling kurtals. Brahmatirtha, Hare Krishna, Panditji. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Rajajanaranda Yashodananda Rajajanaranda Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodananda Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Bhadradanarandana Jamuna Atira Vanachari Jamuna Atira Vanachari Jamuna Atira Vanachari Jamuna Atira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jehovah Ki Jai. So before we read the Bhagavatam, I'll explain the song. You probably already know what the words mean. Radha Madhava Kunja. Kunja means like the groves, a beautiful natural setting. Vihari. Vihara means like recreation, pleasure, enjoyment. So Vihari means one who enjoys in the Kunja, in the groves of Vrindavan. Gopi Jana Vallabha, the beloved of the gopis. Girivara Dhari, and who held the excellent hill, the beautiful hill, Govardhan. Girivara Dhari, Jashodanandana, the beloved. Nandana comes from the same root as Ananda. Ananda is actually the prefix Ananda. So Nandana means the joy. So one of the ways you say the son of someone in Sanskrit is you say the joy of that person. So Jashoda Nandana, Vrajajana Ranjana, and pleasing the Vrajajana, the Vraja folk. Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira. Tira means the bank. On the bank of the Jamuna, Jamuna Tira Vanachari. He's wandering, Krishna's wandering through the forest on the bank of Jamuna. Very beautiful setting. Very, very beautiful. Vrindavan. So we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam. We're continuing with the second canto. And today, 12. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Kim Pramatasya Bahubhi Parokshar Hayanayar Iha Varang Muhurtam Viditam Katate Seyase Jataha. These are such beautiful verses. Just the context, I'll just read quickly the previous verse, which I missed. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam makuto vayam yoginam nirnitam harinamanu. Which means this, for those who are becoming detached, actually. It's interesting because it literally doesn't say for those who are detached. It says for those who are becoming detached, who are detaching themselves. Eta nirvidyamananam ichatam, and those who are desiring. It's very interesting because all of these, this nirvidyamananam, ichatam, they're all in the present participle. For someone who's in the process of doing this, that's us. So, eta nirvidyamananam, for those who are detaching themselves, or literally nirvidya, like they don't want to know about the material world anymore. They're in the spiritual world. Ichatam, or desiring akuto bayam, literally desiring from nowhere danger or fear. So, kutaha means somewhere, and akuta means nowhere. Akuta. So they're desiring nowhere fear, nowhere danger. I mean, obviously it sounds much better in Sanskrit. But just so you know literally what it means, akuto vayam, yoginam, spiritual practitioners, that's what it means here. Spiritual practitioners, nirpa o king, nirnitam, it is decided, it is definite that harer namanu kirtanam, continuous chanting of the names of Hari, for people who are detaching themselves, for people who are desiring to be free of all fear and danger, for spiritual practitioners. This is the conclusion. This has been decided, to always chant, glorify the name of the Lord, the name of Hari. So that was the previous verse. And now we have Kim. Kim in Sanskrit, like what? It's like in English, like what's with that? In the sense of that's nothing. So it's sort of a rhetorical question, Kim, like what's the use of that? And pramatasya, of the foolish person. Matta means sort of mad. Actually, that's where we get the English word mad from the English root, mad, M-A-D. And so Kim, so like what is the use of for a foolish person, a distracted person? What is the use of bahubi paroksha, of many years? But this is interesting, paroksha, because paroksha can mean esoteric also, because para means like other or away, and aksha is eye or vision, so it's like sort of missing the point. Someone who's distracted, someone who's looking in the wrong place. So anyway, the word paroksha can mean different things. Here it means like just one who's looking in the wrong place, looking away from the real fact, not seeing what's really there. So for such a person, what is the use of many years, iha, in this world? And he's telling Parikshit, like, don't lament that you're going to leave this world relatively young, because even if you had lived a long life, what would be the use of it if you weren't Krishna conscious? And since you are Krishna conscious, it doesn't matter the length of your life because you're Krishna conscious. That's the point he's making. So King Pramatasya Bahubi, with many, Paroksha, distracted, hayanar, years, iha, in this world, varang, better a moment, muhurta. Muhurta can mean like a time, or it can also mean just a moment. So better a moment, vidita, in consciousness. Better a moment which you are actually conscious. Gatate, because then one moves, one goes, shreyase, to the real well-being. One, Prabhupada says here, one can try for. Shreyas. Shreyas is the comparative degree of Sri. Sri means beautiful or sublime, fortunate, Sri. And very Sri is Shreyase, the Shreyas. Shreyas means very Sri, and most Sri is Shrestha. So that's anyway, different degrees of Sanskrit. So gatate, one can go to actual benefit, jataha, from that moment. So this is obviously very relevant advice to Parikshit. He's telling him, don't even think for a moment that you have a problem because you're going to leave this world soon. It's not a problem because you're going to achieve perfection. So now we'll chant this together. King pramattasya bahubhi.
King pramattasya bahubhi.
King pramattasya bahubhi.
King pramattasya bahubhi.
Paroksharhayanariha. Paroksharhayanariha. Varang muhurtam viditam. Varang muhurtam viditam. Gatate shreyase jataha. Gatate shreyase jataha. King pramattasya bahubhi. Paroksharhayanariha. Varam muhurtam viditam. Gatate shreyase jataha. King pramattasya bahubhi. No, it's not air, it's ire. Paroksharhayanariha. Varam muhurtam viditam. Gatate shreyase jataha. Pramattasya. King pramattasya bahubhi. Paroksharhayanariha. Varam muhurtam viditam. Gatate shreyase jataha.
Just like she is unfair to Sanskrit.
Saving your voice for tonight's opera.
Yes, exactly.
So, Prabhupada's translation, what is the value? That's just Kim. Like, what with that? I mean, we say it in English, like, what's with that? What with that? And that's because these words like Bahubi, Paroksha are there in the instrumental with. So it's literally what with that? What with a long life? So what is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this? It's so funny. These foolish materialists think they're experienced. There was even a song in the 60s, Are You Experienced, or an album or something, and it turned out he wasn't, and he died young. So, this idea, they think being experienced is to be an experienced, I don't know, animal or something, like a frisky squirrel. That's what they think. They think if you try to get on all fours and try to enjoy sex life that you're experienced, but actually you're extremely inexperienced. Real experience means to know the difference between matter and spirit. God, does this society need Krishna consciousness? They have to find some way to get through their thick skulls. So, what is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment, muhurtam, varang muhurtam, better a moment of full consciousness, viditam, because that gives one a start, gatate, in searching after his supreme interest. Shreyase. So Prabhupada's translation for this verse, Srila Sukadeva Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit about the importance of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord by every progressive gentleman and lady, in order to encourage the king who had only 7 remaining days of life. Srila Sukadeva Goswami asserted that there is no use in living hundreds of years without any knowledge of the problems of life. Better to live for a moment with full consciousness of the supreme interest to be fulfilled. The supreme interest of life is eternal. I mean, how could it be otherwise? You know, when you're a kid, you go to an amusement park, you go on rides, and the ride ends. It's kind of like a little self-realization moment. You know, because the kid's on the ride and suddenly the ride ends. So everything ends in this world. How could any intelligent person, kind of distracting. It's how could any intelligent person work hard for something which you can't keep? It's ridiculous. It's like washing the car, changing the oil, but it's not your car. I saw this really funny commercial where some guy is sort of like coming out of one of those townhouses, you know, in New York or Boston, and so his car, it snowed, his car is covered in snow. He's working really hard and taking the snow off. And then some other guy comes out, and, you know, with his key, and it beeps the car he just cleaned. So he just took the snow off the wrong car. So, I mean, it's so funny. These people think like I'm experienced, I'm elegant, I'm smart. I have these college degrees, and they're just damn fools. They're just asses working hard for something they can't keep. The only thing you can keep is your Krishna consciousness. You know, whatever Krishna consciousness we achieve, that's the only thing you can actually keep. Everything else is just foolishness, working for something that will be taken away from you at any moment. So the qualification for material life is just sort of to be very unintelligent. So the Krishna consciousness movement, we're trying to, you know, as Krishna's representatives, we're trying to give people this intelligence, like wake them up. And if you listen to Prabhupada's voice, if you listen to his lectures, the urgency is like trying to shake these people and wake them up because they're just so foolish. I mean, imagine how stupid everyone looked to Prabhupada. So, Srila Sukadeva Goswami asserted there's no use in living hundreds of years without any knowledge of the problems of life. Better to live for a moment with full consciousness of the supreme interest to be fulfilled. The supreme interest of life is eternal, with full knowledge and bliss. Those who are bewildered by the external features of the material world and are engaged in the animal propensities of the eat, drink, and be merry type of life are simply eat, drink, and be merry, are simply wasting their lives by the unseen passing away of valuable years. I mean, think about it. Time is the most powerful force in the universe, and yet it's invisible, silent. It's like this silent submarine that's like, you know, coming up under your ship to blow it up. Time is the most powerful force in the universe, and you see the effects. It's like one of those sci-fi movies or some like invisible monster that comes. You just see people falling one after the other, but you can't see the actual monster. And so time is so powerful, but it's completely silent. You can't see it, you can't hear it, touch it, and yet it's just destroying everything. That is high tech, if you think about it. So, we should know in perfect consciousness that human life is bestowed upon the conditioned soul to achieve spiritual success. And the easiest possible procedure to attain this end is to chant the holy name of the Lord. In the previous verse, we have discussed this point to a certain extent, and we may further be enlightened on the different types of offenses committed unto the feet of the holy name. Because holy name is the solution, so watch out for offenses. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu has quoted many passages from authentic scriptures and has ably supported the statements of the matter of offenses at the feet of the holy name. Interesting phrase, the feet of the holy name, because holy name is Krishna. From Vishnu Yamala Tantra, Srila Jiva Goswami has proven that one can be liberated from the effects of all sins simply by chanting the Lord's holy name. Quoting from the Markandeya Purana, Sri Goswamiji says that one should neither blaspheme the devotee of the Lord nor indulge in hearing others who are engaged in belittling a devotee of the Lord. A devotee should try to restrict the vilifier, by cutting out his tongue. And being unable to do so, which is certainly our situation, one should commit suicide rather than hear the blaspheming of the devotee of the Lord. Okay, so what do we do with this? I mean, go to your local university or, I don't know, ladies club or something, and tell them anyone who blasphemes the Lord should have their tongue cut out, or if you can't cut their tongue out, commit suicide. This is clearly not something you want to say to the next time you give a class to some non-devotees. So what is it? It's obviously, this is hyperbole in the sense that it's not an instruction to do this. It's meant to sort of dramatically show how one should feel. Or, I mean, it's pretty heavy to want to cut someone's tongue. It's
a good hermeneutical example.
Yeah, it's a very good example. I mean, it is hyperbole because it says one should do this, but Prabhupada doesn't mean you should do it. I mean, if Prabhupada heard that some of his disciples went and started cutting people's tongues out, he would be horrified.
And I think in other places it says, well, we don't do that. We just leave the room.
Yeah, but you could even question the propriety of wanting to do that. It's like, I mean, it's just like, people, they say, I'm gonna knock your teeth out or something. I mean, probably 99.9% of the time, the person doesn't actually knock out the other person's teeth. But they say that I'm gonna beat you into a pulp. I mean, that's basically what Bhima did to Akichaka. He beat him literally into a pulp. It's interesting, pulp, like apple pulp or something. So these expressions, it's interesting. I mean, you find them also among people in general. I'll beat you to a pulp. I'll beat your brains out. If you think of all these expressions. And so here it says, one should cut. I think this is being said in a society in which everyone knew no one's going to do that. And I don't think there's even any history of anyone doing that. It's just sort of an expression. And then you could even ask, well, in this age, should we even publicize this expression? Like, let's say, for example, you're in a public place and someone blasphemes Krishna's name. Should you say publicly within the hearing of others that I would love to cut your tongue out, but I'm not going to do it? Any comments on this?
Bhagavatam was once at a program. Some Mayavadi was speaking with this young devotee. And the Mayavadi started really saying terrible things about Prabhupada on the stage because he saw devotees there. And Bhagavatam was thinking, what do we do? I think we should just leave. And this very young devotee sitting next to Bhagavatam stood up and yelled at the guy on the stage, you take that back or else. You better take that back. And he took it back. It's a circumstance.
So ladies, next time you're in that situation, you know what to do. Okay, but it's an interesting point in terms of, interesting point.
There's
So
a lot of hyperbole.
The conclusion is that one should neither hear nor allow vilification of a devotee of the Lord. As far as distinguishing the Lord's holy name from the names of the demigods, the revealed scriptures disclose, Gita 10:41, that all extraordinarily powerful beings, that's Yajadvi Bhukti Matsatam, that all extraordinarily powerful beings are but parts and parcels of the supreme energetic Lord Krishna. Except for the Lord himself, everyone is subordinate. No one is independent of the Lord. Since no one is more powerful than or equal to the energy of the Supreme Lord, no one's name can be as powerful as that of the Lord. By chanting the Lord's holy name, one can derive all the stipulated energies synchronized from all sources. Now, that's a very interesting statement, isn't it? One can derive all the stipulated energies synchronized from all sources. I mean, one should give a class or many classes just on that little phrase. Therefore, one should not equalize the supreme holy name of the Lord with any other name. Brahma, Shiva, or any other powerful god could never be equal to the supreme Lord Vishnu. The powerful holy name of the Lord can certainly deliver one from sinful effects, but one who desires to utilize this transcendental potency of the holy name of the Lord in one's sinister activities is the most degraded person in the world. I mean, I hope it's okay to say this, but when I'm reading these purports, and when did Prabhupada did this early in the movement, isn't it? I mean, I think he was already in the West, but he did the second canto. He did the first canto. And what really strikes me about the purports here, among other things, is that the English is really sophisticated. And I think you find all kinds of words, all kinds of phrases, which are really striking in English. And after the second canto, the movement started to grow tremendously, and Prabhupada's life changed dramatically. He didn't have peace and quiet. He didn't have time. He didn't have rest. He had like growing mountains of problems on his mind, trying to manage a big movement. And so I think there's something very interesting just about sort of monitoring the kind of English Prabhupada uses at different stages of his life, when he's in different situations. He has time or doesn't have time. Like if you look at the first canto, he's just in Vrindavan with, I don't want to say all the time in the world, but he has nothing else to do. You know, if you read the stories, Mula Prakriti passed away. She wrote this amazing book, which I found very, very inspiring, about Prabhupada before he came to the West, and she interviewed people that knew him, God brothers, just people that knew Prabhupada. The picture you get is amazing. Like when he was in Vrindavan, he was, there in this most ecstatic place with sort of a Rupa Goswami Samadhi view, Bhajan Kutir. And he basically is just absorbed ecstatically in the Bhagavatam, and he gives candy to children. And, he's really nice. He just,
rides his bicycle through Vrindavan.
Yeah, rides his bike. Imagine, we think the Prabhupada kind of was born at the age of, on the Jaladuta. But actually he was, Prabhupada said one time, I remember he was talking to us, and he said that, you think that I'm old and you're young, but I was young like you. I had my friends. I was doing all kinds of things. So Prabhupada would just give sweets to the children, and he was absorbed in the Bhagavatam. It's almost, of course, Prabhupada was always, you could say, absorbed in Krishna. But even Prabhupada was affected by the external circumstance, like anyone would be. He would say, like, there's a little noise, it would just completely distract him. It would distract him from his translation. And so when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, even the second canto, and the movement was very small. And there wasn't that much to worry about. There weren't that many places to go. And so it's very interesting. Anyway, sinister activities. So one who desires to utilize this transcendental potency, and that's what Jayatirtha did. The holy name of the Lord in one's sinister activities. Basically started a sex and drug cult after he left ISKCON, and they would perform these activities in front of his deities. And his head was cut off.
Literally.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I remember when I heard that, I was in Mayapur when I got the news. And I thought, if any news ever put the fear of God in me, this is it. I mean, not that before that I was licentious, but I just remembered like, Krishna's serious. So one who desires to utilize this transcendental potency of the holy name of the Lord in one's sinister activities is the most degraded person in the world. Such persons are never excused by the Lord. Again, this is not an eternal never. This is not a literal never. But it means, it still has impact, and we know what Prabhupada means. One should therefore utilize one's life in glorifying the Lord by all means without any offense. Such activity of life, even for a moment, is never to be compared to a prolonged life of ignorance like the lives of the tree and other living entities who may live for thousands of years without prosecuting spiritual advancement. In California, they have these redwood trees that live for 1,000 years, and not one of them has ever probably come up with a really clever idea. So, any questions? No? Okay. Srila, thank you all for attending. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thanks to everyone who's watching online.